And we're live.
Hey,
Hey, what's
welcome.
going
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Did you get your 2 workouts in?
I did. I got them done.
Awesome. So John Kelly was going to be on tonight with us because we've got Mr. Ed Shin that we're going to bring out here in a little bit, and really excited to talk to him. But I was talking to John about it, and he said he's lost 17 pounds already. I'm like,
Yeah,
that's
he's catching
insane.
up to what I've lost, and I can't be the biggest loser there.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. Well, I'm really excited about our guest tonight. Uh, just somebody that I kind of to learn about and just started finding out about through the whole overlanding community. And you kind of, when I started backpacking, I went through all the rabbit holes of the syntax, the shugs, and now it's like in this whole overlanding, off-roading, it's like I'm finding a whole new community of people. It's really cool. But Mr. Shin has got some real talent in developing some of these videos that he puts out.
Yeah,
Can you roll one of his intros
I
and let's
can.
just give everybody a little taste about the talent that this guy has?
Awesome drone footage. Here we go.
Gotta love it immediately.
This is the type of camping you normally see on my channel in the wintertime. And although there may be a peaceful familiarity about this scene, things were a bit different. We ventured into the land of wolves and grizzly bears, a land of amazing people and rich culture. We ventured into Canada.
Oh, it's such a sick Jeep right there.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, that drone footage is top notch.
Wow, look at there.
Yeah, yeah. This was a fantastic video. I watched Story Till Nows as well also.
Yeah.
And some of the snow that they went through and how I mean, just it was absolutely incredible. So without further ado, let's bring in Mr. Edward Shin.
Hello,
Hey,
hello.
what's up, everyone?
Hey, how are you doing, buddy?
Okay.
I'm well. How are you?
Awesome, awesome. So what have you been up to? I know you've had trouble putting out some video content lately, and I actually started following the whole Onyx team just because I started using Onyx and absolutely love the app. First off, by the way,
Yeah.
but I seen you were part of this team with Dirt Lifestyle. But you had to drop out because of some life changes. What's going on with you nowadays?
Correct. Yeah, it's I would say it's not trouble putting out content. It's just I'm deliberately kind of holding. I got a whole bunch of stuff in the can ready. I'm just holding it for right now because I have to focus on this new updated career change. So that's what's going on at the moment. But for that first month that we just passed, it was 100% focused on that. So
Yeah.
now that that's done, my schedule's more freed up, and then now you're going to start seeing content come back out.
Awesome.
And that career update is it's law enforcement is what I've stepped into, and this opportunity came up to me. So it's something that I've wanted to do since I was very young, and it ended up just presenting itself as a good opportunity now. So luckily I can still supplement that with the YouTube stuff and still do what I love doing. And as a matter of fact, the agency or the department that I'm hired on to now, they know about my channel, and I'm actually working on doing some of their recruitment and promotional videos
What?
as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's so cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So
Well, I mean,
so
you obviously put a lot of time into your edits. I mean, like, well, first off, it's like, shoot, I could do that if I was talented, knew what I was doing with computers, and had the drive. I mean, but seriously though, like the amount of work that you put into it and your vision, not a lot of people can do that. Like when you see
well,
it's, do you see the shots as you're shooting them, or are you just, are able to put it together in post?
it's a little bit of both. And I will say that, it hasn't been something that just came on to me. Like, it's not something I was born with or anything. I was just horrible. If you look at my older videos, I have a shaky camera phone, and
Well, we
I'm
all
trying
have those.
to,
Yeah,
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 exactly.
I still do.
But I think what it is like, if you're passionate about something, if you have a huge passion for something, when you do something and it's a lot of work, it doesn't feel like work, right? It's
Right.
just
Yeah.
more of like it's fun. And by the end of the day, like a video that's maybe 10, 12 minutes long will take me between 8 to 10 hours to edit, but it's like that 8 to 10 hours passes by pretty quick. Whereas
Mhm.
if you told me to stuff envelopes, that 8 to 10 hours would probably drive me insane.
Right.
So it's a lot of practice over time, I think, is what it is. And if it's something you like doing, and I'll just say this, the reason why I'm so passionate about it is because when it's all said and done, it's like, I think innately we all have a wanting to create something, right? Like whether it's
Right.
woodworking, metalworking, building cars or videos or whatever. For me, it's videos. So, and I think that's where the drive comes from. But there's still not a video that I really like, believe it or not. All
Really?
my videos, I still feel, and I am my own worst critic, I think, but I think they are
Mhm.
still, it doesn't meet my expectations of what I would like to do and how I would like to present things. So, like when we were talking a little bit earlier, like Story Till Now, Sean, his videos are awesome.
Yeah.
Like Nate, Dirt Lifestyle, his content, like it's so full packed with information in his videos, right? Like,
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff, and it's very educational. Like I am striving to make those kind of videos as well. So, but I appreciate your kind
Well,
words.
I will tell you, like that intro to that video there, that had me captivated. I mean, with the way that you kept it moving with the drone shots, I mean, it felt like one of Sean's videos, honestly. I mean, it just really, and I'm sure, some of the territory and the terrain kind of give it that feel as well too.
Right.
But really you could tell that, you really put a lot of work into it. When you started making videos, what kind of led you to do that? Like what hey, I'm going to start making videos of these trips? I mean, was it just memory's sake, or was it, hey, I want to see what I can do with the channel?
Yeah, it was just mainly, and this is the same advice I tell anyone else who asks me about starting a YouTube channel. And
Hmm.
this is based on what keeps me sane as a YouTube channel content creator. I started off not thinking about how much am I going to make or what can I monetize or what can I get or whatever. It was mainly, hey, 20 years from now, 10 years from now, maybe even 5 years from now, I might not be able to make videos, but it'd be nice
Yeah.
to have an album, a moving picture album, basically, of things that I've done. And the reason I
Yeah.
wanted that is because when I started getting into backpacking, I was like, man, this is great. Look at all these
Yeah.
sights and sceneries, right? But
Yeah.
a picture, I mean, let's admit it, pictures or videos don't really do any of these sceneries justice,
100.
right?
No.
Yeah, man.
100%.
Yeah, you see these things in person, you're just like, this is so mind-blowing and captivating. And you try to capture all that beauty into a photograph or a video, and it just not enough, right? But
Yeah.
we're still trying to do what we can. So when I wanted to put these on video, store it away somewhere, and YouTube was the platform that was available. And I said, hey, I'm just gonna put it here and look back on it in the future. And lo and behold, people started watching it. People asked me about gear and stuff and some of those backpacking trips. So I made a gear video, and that started to kind of get a little popular, and more people asked questions. So I thought maybe I'll just continue with this route. And yeah, that's what happened. And I think because I see it as like a way to hold memories, and because I see the value in that,
Yeah.
that's where that's why I didn't care if it grew or not, because it was primarily for me and
Yeah.
my children and my family, and
Yeah.
if it does grow, great, but if not, it's still great because you can still reflect back on it and enjoy it. And that's just
100%.
me personally.
100%. I totally agree. That's kind of why I started mine too. I mean, obviously a much smaller scale, but I remember talking to my dad about all of his hunting trips, out to West Virginia and seeing family out there and, going up all these old mountains and couldn't keep up with this 71-year-old uncle, just all these crazy stories. And it's like, now it's like I'm creating things that my grandkids will be able to watch, not
Right.
just me tell. And I'm not going to remember all the details that are in those videos. So you are creating like the world's best photo album
Yeah.
in these videos. I totally agree. So you said you start off with a shaky camera or a camera phone, as we all did, right?
Yeah.
So what are you using now, and how did you kind of progress to what you're using now?
Yeah, and the funny thing is like, just like when we go backpacking or overlanding or off-roading, we start off kind of bare bones, right, with the necessities, and then we
Sure.
start to over time realize what we don't need and what we do need, right,
Mhm.
depending on the kind of adventures you do. So when I went from the phone to the GoPro, I was like, hey, I want a little bit bigger sensor. I want a more professional looking camera or professional performing camera because I want the images to look a little better.
Yeah.
So I went into like a Panasonic G85, and I was like, hey, G85 is nice, but I heard the GH5 is a little bit nicer quality.
It is.
So yeah, and it is. It's absolutely perfect, right? Like it's a great video camera, and I used it for a very long time. And then there were times where, as I started doing overlanding and things like that, I was like, hey, I'm in an area where it's like getting kind of dark, and you see the campfire, but it's hard to see certain things. So without a full 1-inch sensor, you don't capture in all that that scenery in the darkness, right? So I needed better low light performance, so I ended up switching over to Sony with the A7S. So that's the progression of it. And then all the little accessories around it, the mic, I wanted to improve audio quality, and all that other stuff around it just kind of builds on, adds on based on what I feel like I lack over time in my journeys.
So you got the G Master 24-70 with 2.8 for the low light as well, right?
Well, that was my actually that was the lens I initially used for zoom function and stuff. But even with the 2.8, I thought it was not sufficient. So I ended up getting a 24 millimeter 1.4 G Master prime lens. And overall, the prime lenses are better in terms of picture quality just because there's less glass for images to go through, right?
Yep.
And also, I noticed that on a zoom lens, because the Sony has in-body stabilization, but the lenses do not.
Right.
It looks a little more shaky on the 24-70 than on just a prime 24 millimeter lens. So, I try to be as steady as I can, and then I do little tricks like slowing it down when I'm little shaky at 60 frames per second to make it look more steady as well. But I can only go so far. But so far, it's been great with that setup.
Yeah, if you can't tell, I'm the camera nerd. I nerd out on that stuff.
Yeah.
No, you picked it up right there real quick.
So do you use like any external cameras for your rigs, or do you just mainly shoot with the one that you have?
So I do a little bit of both. Sometimes I'll do things where I'll hold the camera out to the side or shoot from the inside with the camera, but I have GoPro and GoPro mounts that I use now. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's much safer that way too.
Yeah, a little cheaper if you drop one of those, and they'll survive a little better, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know if you know the channel David Gray Backpacking, but he's got like this really huge Nikon, and last year he went with me. We went out to like Imogene Pass and Black Bear Pass, and he's like shooting with this Nikon, hanging it out over all these cliffs, and I'm just cringing the whole time. But
you get some really nice shots that way too, right?
You do. I mean, his photography is actually one of the best that I've seen as far as backpacking channels. I mean, the guy's a legend when it comes to that stuff. But so what kind of got you started with the outdoors? Like, you started backpacking, right?
Yeah, I did. So it's a funny story, actually. I actually wasn't much of an outdoors camping, backpacking kind of guy until maybe about 13 years ago. And what happened was I used to live in California, and I moved to the Pacific Northwest about 12 years back. But the day I was so I drove up here, and it's a 1,000-mile drive from where I used to live to where I moved to in the Pacific Northwest. And it's about an 18-hour drive. So the day before that, I was supposed to drive in the morning. My friends decided that they wanted to take me out to hike Mount Baldy to the summit. So what happened was, so I've never backpacked before.
That's a good first one.
It was brutal, but fun. And that's what got me hooked, just because of the challenge of it, right? So I didn't have any of the gear. So I had a friend, Johnny, who let me borrow some of the gear. And then we went to REI and I rented some of the gear. And
I'm sure it was light too, right?
It probably was light to you guys, but to me at the time, it felt kind of heavy because I didn't have those legs for backpacking and hiking, But so we started in the morning, and then it took us all day and night. So by the time we got to the top, it was already getting dark. And this was in like August. So, it's a long day, but it was still dark by the time we got up to the top. And, of course, we slept behind like a rock wall where it was a wind deflector. Yeah. We just slept with a sleeping pad and a sleeping bag because you can't pitch a tent up there.
Yeah.
And then,
wow.
Yeah. And it was it was brutal. My legs were just like pretty sore, and I was like, I can't believe I actually made it up here. And my friends, to all of them, it was just like another day, just a hike on the sidewalk. It looked like, And
Yeah.
so next morning we wake up and we, of course, start taking pictures of the sunrise, take a picture of the plaque that shows how high you are in elevation, doing all that stuff. And then we hiked back down. I drove back home. And then right as soon as I got home that same afternoon, I started my drive up to Oregon. So, but
Wow.
during that drive, it gave me a lot of time to reflect and think about what just happened the day before or the days before, which was this beautiful adventure where you just see this beautiful view in the morning,
Yeah.
and you're just kind of elements, right? With just the basic necessity and appreciating everything. Like
I call that having your moment.
Yeah.
You had your moment and you remembered it, right?
Exactly. I mean, that's your first, right? You don't forget your first.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah. And, the thing is, like, there are certain times where you take things for granted, and it's through hardships where you realize, man, we are very lucky and blessed in a lot of ways. So when we
Yeah.
were up there at the top and I was starving and hungry and tired, my friend, we shared this like noodles, soup noodles, right? A couple noodles
Ramen.
or whatever, ramen, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And any day you just have noodles as a snack, you don't really think much about it. But when you're at the top and you're cold and you're hungry and tired,
Best ramen ever.
best ramen ever, right? Like it's and that's I think another thing about just being outdoors and unplugging and getting into nature is, in that environment, you start thinking about all the luxuries we have in life, running water, roof over our heads and things like that, a bathroom with a toilet, right? So yeah, so that's what got me hooked. I was like, man, the feeling, I'm sure it was also the endorphins being released and all that stuff from hiking up and
100%.
everything, but a combination of everything just made it the perfect storm of this unforgettable, like, addiction afterwards. So that's
Well,
what happened.
the view after every hard climb, it's like that's going to be the best view, right? So it's like
Yep.
that's your reward for working to get to the top of the mountain is
Yeah.
what you're going to see, and you can literally stand there and think no one else is going to see this unless they just walked where I walked.
That's right.
So there's no easy way up there. But yeah, and the funny thing is, like, everybody's had those legs. Everybody's on their first hike. Everybody's had them. Everybody's had the heavy packs. Everybody's had, starting out. It's like, my first pack was like 58 pounds, and then, it's like, okay, I'm shrinking everything down. We're going no more than 20
Yeah.
after that. But it's that addiction to the backpacking. So did you went on how many trips then till you started overlanding? Was this like, how many years were you backpacking, would you say, before you decided to do the overlanding?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably over maybe 5 to 6 year period.
Okay.
And
Wow.
I don't know. Because there are some years where I'll go maybe a handful of times, and some
Sure.
years where I'll go like every weekend, or I try to leave every Friday after work. So it just varies. But the weird thing about backpacking is, like, I'm one of those guys that a lot of people make fun of in backpacking because I'm the kind of guy that, like, sometimes I'll carry extra weight and bring extra stuff. Like, my average pack weight was between 50 to 60 pounds. And I
Wow.
know I should have gone lighter, but, like, I carried too many knives, and, like, I carry sometimes an axe, and I want the foldable chair, with a thicker fabric, just because I feel like, if I condition myself to make it like that, it's tolerable, it'll be worth it for me at camp to be a little bit more comfortable and relaxed, but still
Yeah.
a lot of people see that and frown upon it, but I don't care because
Oh,
at the end of the
your own
day, I
thing,
have a good
man.
time. Yeah.
If
But
if you look at Chris's pack and my pack, they're polar opposites. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Like, Chris is going to bring the steaks. He's going to bring what he wants on that
Camera gear.
backpacking trip.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a heavy
Yeah.
gear bringer too.
let me share something with you guys. It's just really embarrassing on my end, and I haven't really told.
Oh,
I
this
don't
is
think I've
good.
even shared this story on my
This is
channel.
fantastic.
So I was still into backpacking. I just moved into the Pacific Northwest. I'm like, dude, I want to go backpacking, so I'm just gonna buy all these gear, all this stuff, right? So I'm
Mhm.
researching, and before we go somewhere, we research the area, the trails, and all that, And one thing that came up on the reports and forums was, hey, there's sightings of mountain lions, cougars, bears, stuff like that. And I'm not really an outdoor guy at that point when I first started, so I'm like scared of everything, right?
Yeah.
If there's a freaking little cricket on the ground, I don't even want to go near it, So So I was like, okay, I got to be really ready, like I, I feel like I am conditioned enough to carry whatever weight I need to. So I got a pack, I got my sleeping bag, all the necessities. And then I had a dog at the time. So I'm going to bring the dog on a leash and I got to bring dog
Dog's
food.
food.
Oh
But
man.
here's the kicker, because I was so scared about hiking and backpacking by myself, because this was, I think, one of my first backpacking trips solo. I ended up bringing a 12 gauge shotgun in my pack.
That's awesome.
I carried a 12 gauge shotgun in my pack. So that just added about 10, 15 pounds to whatever. So I carried that. And the thing was like, on a straight, even path, maybe I'll be okay. But this whole trail was just elevation gain after elevation gain. And it's a pretty popular trail out here. And here's the other thing on top of that. I did not realize how busy this trail was going to be when I went.
Oh,
So
Oh no.
So you see me, and I'm wearing this like wicking sweatshirt, like a shirt that wicks sweat, basically,
yes.
right? Like
Yeah.
a polyester
Synthetic.
type shirt,
Yep.
synthetic shirt.
Mhm.
So like I still had all my tattoos and stuff, and I'm carrying this little pit bull mix dog on a leash, and he's pulling me, and I have a shotgun in my pack exposed, and I'm just walking up like huffing and puffing, sweating my butt off, and there's people walking down with their kids staring at me. It's like, what is this guy
I
doing?
can
Where's
see
he
you
going?
walking in slow motion right now. Like,
Oh my!
cinematic music playing.
So I was
Oh.
supposed to go about 7 miles to get to the campsite that I researched. I ended up hiking about 2.5 because I had so much calf cramps on both legs on the way up. So I took a lot of breaks, sat down. People were passing by, staring at me, and they were just looking at me like, hey, this is a very, very popular hiking trail. Why is this guy carrying a shotgun with him in a backpack? So I know, I'm sure I freaked a couple of people out, but at the end of the day, this is how we learn, and I learned the hard way
Yeah.
in that one trip.
That's
So,
hilarious.
yeah, I carried for my first several trips. I really
Yeah.
did. So I mean, it wasn't a 12 gauge. So,
Well, more
I know I
restrained.
carry better now in terms of that.
Yeah,
I learned.
yeah, no, that's awesome. Did you have birdshot or slugs? I gotta ask.
So not slugs. I had bird shots and then I used buck shots. So I mixed it. So I did like the
Okay.
first shot was a bird shot, and then after that it was buck shots. And then actually the last one, I think the fifth one, was a slug. If I told myself if it ever came down to that point, I probably need a slug. But yeah, it was
That's fantastic.
crazy. Yeah. That's something, maybe in overlanding trips I'll still carry that, but at the
Yeah.
same time,
Yeah.
after that I'll carry like a 10 millimeter if I know it's heavily bear country type of area. But aside from that, it's no more 12 gauge.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So no, I mean, I get that though. Like I said, everybody has that where in literally you pack your fears. That's why your first backpack weighs like 50 some pounds.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with carrying the comfortable items like the chairs, or we have these conversations all the time.
Yeah.
So there's always a debate on ultralight versus not ultralight or comfort light or whatever level you want to go.
Mhm.
The thing is, whatever you want to carry, that's all that matters. So
100%.
now you started going into overlanding and off-roading. So what was the transition like there? So you decided to kind of change your world. Was it, hey, I'm going to buy a Toyota, or I just happened to buy a Toyota and decide to start driving it off-road?
I feel like this video that we're creating right now,
Uh-huh.
it's going to be my most embarrassing video.
Don't feel like you have to share anything you don't want to.
No, you know what? Do you know what the thing is? Like, all of us, or a lot of us, go through things, and I go through, this is how we learn, right? And I'm going to
100%.
share the ways that I've learned, and I don't mind.
You're talking to the guy that ran out of water on the largest freshwater body island in the world. So, I mean, there's nothing that is too embarrassing. I mean, every single one of us has done something silly.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And basically that's the point that I want to make, is that we shouldn't be afraid to make mistakes, right? And know that
absolutely.
mistakes are opportunities. So overlanding, so I was backpacking, and I was like, man, like, I want to go bring some more food. I'm tired of waking up in the morning and taking a leak by a tree and it smells like spaghetti because that was Mountain House meal, and lasagna the past day, and
Oh
I
yeah.
had 2 of those. And you know how it is, like all parts of you start smelling like Mountain House meals
Yep.
after
Yes.
the second
Yes.
day. I was like, man, I would like to bring a steak, and so I started researching into car camping and stuff like that. So it was car camping back then for me,
Okay.
going to
Okay.
places to camp, but it wasn't at the state park, or I didn't want to do that either.
Yeah.
So I had a 2005 BMW X5 with street tires on it, and I'm like, I'm gonna take this thing off road and try to get to some spots, So one of my very first overlanding or car camping trips was I researched this spot on Google Maps and stuff, and I was like, oh, there's a little lake, and you get there by a forest road, and it doesn't seem like it's really near, very populated area, so I think it's going to be pretty good. And it was in Oregon, so like I'm going to go there, but I have to go there after work, and it's going to be dark by the time I get there. But my past experience has been, even if I get somewhere backpacking at night, in the morning it's usually beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Usually.
So yeah, usually. And I think here's the foreshadowing part right there, right?
Yeah.
Usually it's beautiful. So I get off of work, I pack up my SUV, and I'm like, I'm gonna get to this location. So I end up getting there in about like an hour and a half or something like that. It was completely dark. And I was like, okay, since I didn't have to backpack this time, and certain areas in the national forest, you're allowed to shoot, guns, and as long
Sure.
as you're safe and you
Right.
exercise all the precautions and stuff, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
So I was like, I'm gonna bring a few things so that I can. And this is another thing. I should have just like not done that at nighttime. But anyway, so I packed everything. I had a ground tent. I had the air mattress and the sleeping bag and all that stuff. And then I brought a couple of toys and just headed out into the woods.
Heck yeah.
And with my maps, I found the location, and it's like a nice open area, and there's like water right over. You can hear kind of the water around there, but when you shine your flashlight, you can see the water as well.
Sure.
But of course, when I drove up to it, I saw the water, so I was like, "This is it." I'm gonna turn my car around, back it up a little bit, so I can put my tent right by the water, and then my car is facing back out into the trail, so I can just, if I need to book it, I can just like point that car out and go. That's usually how I like to park my vehicle anywhere I camp, out away from camp.
Yeah.
Yep.
So so overnight I'm just like, setting up targets and shooting it around, and just making sure the lights, on the attached to the rifle and everything are working fine, all that stuff.
Yep.
And then I'm like, okay, it's time for bed. So I go to sleep, and then the next morning I wake up and it's just loud engine noise. Loud engine noise, and like but the thing is, I hear engine noise passing by, and so I'm thinking, okay, it's another vehicle, probably a big truck passing by my camp, no big deal. But it's kind of sustained, it's like lingering around for a little bit, and then it goes away. I'm like, oh, whatever. Nothing to really worry about. And then another vehicle comes by, and this time it's like a diesel engine. You hear the whistle and everything just backing up. Or I think it's backing up because it's like going towards my camp, and then it just like lingers for a while, and then I hear people kind of whispering outside, and then they just drive off. Like, what the heck is going on? And I'll admit, I grabbed one of my toys, and I was just like, okay, what's happening out here,
Yeah.
And that was the fear side of me, just kind of like, okay, you better be careful. You're in the middle of the woods,
Right.
And then a few minutes later, I hear another vehicle very loud. And it's just like lingering. And then I hear people's doors opening, and they're talking. And then I hear whispering again. I'm like, what the heck? So I open the zipper and I look out, and it's a truck with a trailer, and they're unloading a boat into the lake. So I ended up, where I camped was a boat launch. Thinking that I was at a shoreline to a lake.
That had to be a beautiful spot, though.
It was a beautiful spot. I mean, yeah, the view was great. The water was right there, but so were all these trucks and boats and people that were like kind of wondering what the heck I was doing on the side of the water,
Oh,
And then, but that's not where it ends. Like, so people are leaving and stuff. And so I was like, okay, maybe I should clean up some of my stuff out here, So I'm doing that, and I'm packing some stuff up. And then the forest ranger comes by. And then he steps up, he goes, "Hey, were you camping here?" I was like, "Yeah, I mean, my tent's right there behind me." I thought it was pretty obvious, but maybe it was just formality. He just needed to ask. So I was like, "Yeah, I did camp. Is everything all right?" He goes, "Yeah, no, look, first and foremost, I just want to say, or first of all, I just want to say you didn't do anything wrong." I was like, "Okay."
That's good.
But we started getting a whole bunch of calls saying that they heard a bunch of gunshots around here. Turns out there was about 25 people camped, 25 different campsites around where I am around the lake. And I chose the one site that was on a boat launch. So people are getting freaked out by hearing all these gunshots going in consecutive order. It's like da 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 da. And I was like, "Oh, really? Oh, I'm so sorry." He's like, no. You're not doing anything illegal or bad or anything, but just want to let you know that we just got the calls and people are kind of concerned. I was like,
Yeah.
"I apologize," and
That will travel across that sound will travel across that lake in a hurry. I mean, in a
yeah.
very long range.
Oh, big time. And the thing was like that's another reason why I was motivated to even get a better vehicle to outfit it out so that I can even get further remote. Because it turns out that area was quite a popular lake
Yeah.
to go to fish and to camp.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, I can't do this anymore. I can't. I got to try to go more remote.
Oh, that's
So yeah,
awesome.
that's another embarrassing story. You got all these great questions that coincidentally have
They lead to
embarrassing answers.
embarrassment.
This is gold right now. This is fantastic. All right, so it started to where, okay, I need to upgrade my vehicle. And then what was that vehicle that you decided to go to?
So the first vehicle I ended up getting was a Toyota Tacoma. It was a 4-door quad cab long bed. And this was right around the time where I started dating my current wife, Katie, who is my girlfriend back then. And she started getting into backpacking because of me.
That's awesome.
Background on that, we actually met through her commenting on one of my backpacking trip photos on Instagram, and we just
Wow,
exchanged
that's
conversation. Yeah.
fantastic.
So I took her out on hiking trips and camping trip, and I am not going to win like husband of the year or husband of the century or anything by all means. So here's another embarrassing story.
I'm loving this.
Oh, this
So
is
she wanted to
fantastic.
go backpacking, and the considerate guy I am decided to have our first backpacking trip in the wintertime into Mount
Oh,
Hood
oh,
on snowshoes to a person who hasn't backpacked before.
Never been. Oh no.
But
Oh.
so I mean, we started snowshoeing. We started the snowshoe trek up. We went into the side of the mountain. I brought my aluminum shovel, shoveled up some snow, pinched our tent down, and that's where we camped and we backpacked. It was luckily it was only like a 1.5 mile hike in,
Mhm.
but she almost froze to death that night. But but she somehow decided to still stick around, and that's how I knew she was the one for me, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's
But
awesome.
but yeah, so yeah, I mean, anyway, so after that, like, she was like, "Oh, I love backpacking. It's great." Because if you look at my older content, we still go backpacking together
Yeah.
and stuff and everything.
Yeah.
And the other trips seem much easier to her, I guess, after that one ordeal. But at the same time, we still wanted to do the overlanding stuff just because of the luxuries of it. At the end of the
Right.
day, it's more comfortable. You get to do a lot more things that way and not feel as uncomfortable and cold or wet or whatever.
Yeah.
So we started going around with the Toyota Tacoma and built it up according to, as I mentioned earlier, the necessities, the things that we noticed we needed. Because one of our very first trips on that Tacoma, I think it's still on my channel, was we bought an air mattress, put it on the back of that long bed, just enough for both of us to fit on, got a double person sleeping bag. And that was like, I think rated 30 degrees, but it was like the fall or whatever. So it was still
Sure.
fine. And for our cover, we didn't have a cover except the Easy Up. So we just put an Easy Up on it, and then we just put it over the truck bed, and that's how we camped. So
That's fantastic.
yeah.
So
So that's how it came to be, and it started evolving from there based on necessity, or based on needs, or things that we feel would make it more comfortable and easy to enjoy the camp with.
okay. And then from then you went to what? You got a Dodge Ram and then to a Jeep Wrangler. So
Well,
now, oh, go ahead.
well, one quick thing before the Ram, it was the Toyota Tundra.
Oh yeah,
So
yes.
we
Yeah.
wanted more space because the Tacoma was great. It was such a good platform. It had everything we needed as far as capability, but the space was lacking. We weren't as comfortable inside it.
I have a Tundra.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Man,
That's
I
for
miss
that
the
same reason,
Tundra.
by the way.
Awesome. Good for you, man. I miss the Tundra. I wish, man, when the unfortunate thing that happened with the Tundra, I was looking for another
Yeah.
one to replace it, but because it was right around the time where everything got jacked up in price, it was hard to
Yeah.
find, and no one would sell the Tundras around that time. But congrats on your Tundra, man.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot about that because that actually was built up pretty nice. I remember Chris did want to bring that up since he is the Tundra guy. So, but but with your Ram and your Wrangler, now you have them built up. Do you look at them as specific tools for specific trips?
100%.
Okay, all right. So if you're going to uh, go more of a luxury, then it's the Ram. If it's more of a off road, need a more durable, nimble vehicle, then it's the Wrangler, right? Is that kind of
Yeah,
the
pretty much.
okay?
So like the Ram I had first, and then the Jeep I got while the Ram was out of commission for a little bit because I needed an off-road vehicle, but something that's not too similar where I feel like I'm wasting money on redundancy,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So there were a lot of times where I had the Ram and it's great. I love the Ram, but I can't take it to Black Bear Pass. I could, but I'd be risking a lot,
Yeah.
and the space is great and stuff, but like my friend Nate, we had conversations and I talked with my friend Max Powell, like we all talked about certain platforms and things like that, things that can get us around more of these technical trails. And the Jeep Wrangler came up, and the Wrangler I can take to places like Black Bear Pass and things like that, So when I'm going on solo trips or trips with my friends that are more on technical trails or things like that, or Moab, it'll be the Jeep. Whereas if I'm taking the family and the way we have it set up, it's more family friendly and more comfortable, and we can haul more gear. Because if you have family, girls, and your wife, you need a lot of gear.
Yeah, you do.
100%.
For
And a
comfort.
diesel heater.
And a diesel heater, right? And a toilet and a shower and everything.
That's right. That's
And,
right.
So that's what the Ram is, and interchanging it, but most of the time, with the family to be the Ram.
Now you did a trip with that on the WABDR, right?
I did.
That was a pretty epic trip. Could you tell us a little bit about what that trail is?
So it's the Washington Backcountry Discovery Route, and Oregon has one too, and I believe other states have their own backcountry discovery route. So it's like a big route going so in Washington, it's like from the Oregon-Washington border all the way up to Canada, and it's taking just like, for the most part, like 90% off-road backroad trails instead of, and there are some parts where you just kind of, to connect two trails, you have to take, a regular road and a highway and stuff like that, but for a very short distance. So that trail, it's initially these BDR routes and stuff, they were created by people who drive two wheels, like motorcycles and things like that, and people with four wheels decided, hey, look, these are pretty cool trails. Like, we want to take our vehicles out there and four-wheel drive. And I don't think initially it was really meant for like these bigger vehicles, but
100%.
people have still made it that way. And there was like one really sketchy area where it was like off camber and the trail was narrow, but aside from that, it handled it really well, and we had a great time. It's a beautiful route. All these backcountry discovery routes are beautiful.
You did handle that well. In fact, Chris, could you bring up the sketchy spot?
I can.
I seen that, and to me it was very impressive because that was not an easy place to navigate with a very large rig.
Yeah, and I will say, like, I wouldn't have been able to probably do it confidently without my buddy Nate over here and
100%.
some of the other guys that I was with. They were great spotters, and motivators to be able to do that. So, the funny thing is, Nate didn't tell us about this sketchy off-camber section until like right when we were out there. So yeah, it's funny.
Awesome. Okay, so you want to roll sections, I think it's 12 minutes and 18 seconds to 12 minutes and 53 seconds. Let's check this little section out here. The thing I learned in watching, because the camera does flatten out this stuff, if you look at the bumpers of vehicles, the bumpers don't lie. So, and that's incredibly narrow.
Wide at all.
Yeah.
No, you and me, we'll have one tire there and one tire on these rocks here. So when I was here last time, we dug that down and we took a bunch of the rocks from up there and we piled them up right here because this used to be narrower.
Okay.
So we piled it up over here. It's a lot better now than it was, for sure. but you're gonna feel a little uncomfortable.
Famous last words.
So when you seen that, what were you thinking? Like, are you like, there's no way, or I have no choice, or what was going through your head at that point?
So first, when we first got up there initially, I was like, okay, as a content creator, a lot of times whatever we find interesting when we're out, right? Like we look to just like take out our camera and capture it, right? That's part of what
Right.
and it starts to become like an instinctive thing, like a reflexive thing where all of a sudden, hey, that's interesting. Let me just take my camera without even thinking, right? So first thing I did was I took the camera. I was like, I need to show some sort of like reference, like show the context of what this trail looks like. Because if Nate wasn't standing there, or if he didn't walk down that trail, it'd be hard to kind of gauge how narrow that is and how steep that is, So I told Nate, hey, can you just kind of walk down there a little bit and let me kind of film you doing that? And then as he was doing that, he did that for the first time with me holding the camera, and I was looking at the camera and I was like, man, that is really narrow. because even in person, when before he went down, I didn't realize how narrow it was. So when he started walking and started talking, I was trying to capture what he was saying, and I was just like thinking, man, I'm gonna have to change my pants in a little bit, because this is kind of really sketchy, So, but he did kind of reassure us and say, hey, we did this trail before, and there was a guy in a Suburban that came through this trail not too long ago. So that was supposed to be the reassurance.
Okay.
But I also have confidence in Nate's skills and abilities to spot and recover. So I was like, okay, if you think it's all good, let's just do it. So, but it was scary. It was definitely a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah, was that probably one of the worst places you've been with that rig as far as the off camber and the narrowness?
No, there are some other trails that we got in the winter time where if it wasn't like for a snow berm on the side of a hill to catch my ram, it probably would have slid down a hill and fell off.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was in Idaho and things like that. But we don't really think about that too much. We have to really focus on thinking about that. We think about the other stuff, like the camp and the beauty of like the scenery and stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of sketchy-ish. You know what's funny? Coincidentally, it's always usually when I go with Nate, we get all these sketchy situations. But we end up making it home, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, well, and like you said, he's a good spotter. He understands. I mean, he's been doing it a very, very long time, from what I understand. I mean, I haven't dug too deep into his channel. I've just kind of touched on the edge, just following him from, hearing about him from your channel. But you can definitely tell he's very experienced in what he does. So that's got to be 100% confidence in where you put your tires. So
absolutely, yeah, he's had a ton of experience, decades of experience, basically, off-roading and wheeling and recovery. So. And he's also fabricating stuff. So he kind of understands the mechanics behind vehicles and what they can do and what they can't do. And then you match that up with his rock crawling background. Like he kind of pairs that up and marries that up really well.
Yeah. Nice. So, okay. Now we move to the Jeep. And I've seen it with your Jeep loaded up with like the rooftop tent. And then I believe I have, right? I've seen that in the video.
Not on the Jeep. I haven't had a rooftop tent on the Jeep.
Okay. But that's the one that you sleep inside.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. Now with the rooftop tent on top of the Ram, is there a preference on which way you prefer to be? Because I know you have that nice diesel heater in the wintertime for the for the Ram.
So the Jeep, I have a diesel heater too. I just turn on the engine, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, but it's not good to leave the engine running like that in idle. But so the Jeep is great because if I pull into camp and it's like really bad outside, and setup is like basically 2 seconds. I just recline the seat forward and push the seat up, and then I have my deep sleep, air mattress, and with the sleep bag already all laid out. But of course, it's more comfortable in the Ram. If you're claustrophobic, sleeping in the Jeep, in my Jeep, would probably not sit with you, right? It's like sleeping in a coffin. It's a nice beige coffin that I drive around. But the Ram, of course, with that rooftop tent, and now with the Alu cabin, that space inside where I can get up and go down and reach into the fridge or change standing up and all that. And it's like I don't have to get wet or anything like that if the weather's bad out.
Okay, very cool. That makes sense. Now, what made you decide to go with the diesel as far as with the Wrangler?
a lot of suggestions from friends. First
Mhm.
and foremost, like Nate, Christian from Epic Adventure Outfitters in Canada. You know, the guys who outfit like Sean's vehicle and all of them. Talk to
Mhm.
that guy, or Epic Bearded Ginger is his name. His social media
Yes,
name.
the one that is he the one that put the Kraken?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay,
He's a crack.
I want to talk to you about that offline. That thing is wicked.
It is. It's awesome. It saves me so much time.
Ugh,
But those guys, like, I asked her, I'm like, man, I don't know much about the Jeeps, you know, the community, the vehicle, all that stuff. And they all say, like, just get the Eco Diesel for what you want to do with the bigger tires and stuff. It'll
mhm,
be better. And it turns out to be true. You know, I have 40-inch tires on there. Of course, it's re-geared to 513, and that was definitely made that way with a lot of help from Nate and his
sure,
experience. And I get about 18 and a half miles a gallon, you know,
nice.
and part of that's because of the gearing and the diesel engine. So,
Yeah,
um, you know, I definitely got lucky in having friends who kind
Yeah.
of are able to offer that kind of advice. Because if I try
yeah.
to build it up my way from scratch and my limited research, I don't know what I would have built together.
Well, did you go from 33s to 40s?
Yeah.
Was there a pretty big jump there?
Yeah. So the
So
33s were the BFG KO2s that came with the Wrangler Rubicon.
sure,
And then the 40s were, yeah, the ones that we just jumped right into.
you did. But I mean, at the same time, you already had a plan on what you wanted to do with it. So why waste the money going to anything else?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, initially I wanted to not hit exactly 40. I wanted to hit the 39s in the
Mhm.
KO2s, BF Goodrich, but
Okay.
with a lot of these bigger tires, the inventory is very low. So
Yeah.
I ended up having to wait about like 3 months in trying to get these tires, but since they weren't available, I ended up having to go with what was available but at Northridge 4x4,
Hmm.
which is not too far from where I live. So that's why I decided to take it and work with them to build this Jeep together. And they had the 40s, the Cooper STT Pros in
It's a
40-inch
good
tires. I was
tire.
like, okay, let's just do it. It's great. Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
sticky.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
That's
I've been
nice.
looking at that one because I'm looking at moving up to 37s, and I'm
Yeah.
looking at that one. Well, I don't know. I could go on for a day and a half down the
You
tire
could.
rabbit hole.
You really could.
I think, I think 35s and 37s are the perfect, it's like the sweet spot of tires
They
for
are.
90% of the things. Like that's
Yep.
it. And I got the 40-inch tires just because, I wanted to try to have better flotation on snow, and as a content creator, the spectacle of it, but
Yeah.
in practical sense, 35s even or 37 are great.
Yeah, I think going any bigger than 37s would make me nervous with my IFS just on the weight. So with some of the problems that they've been having with snapping axles and tie rods, and I
Yeah.
went ahead and got the tie rod sleeves. I'm looking at some of the new steering components that are a little better housed, like the aluminum
Right.
billet steering housing. But I mean, there's just such a lean on the market right now with Bronco stuff. Everything's through the roof because there's no competition.
Right.
So I mean,
Yep.
it's like I actually have to get a reinforcement for my tailgate to mount because it's all aluminum. So to be able to
Yep.
hold that weight, you have to have I was looking at the RTR and they want like $1,400 just to reinforce the tailgate. And I'm like, whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah.
We'll just keep waiting for competition to come out and make things a little better.
Yes,
But
it's with new platforms. That's the tricky part of new platforms, is a lot of things are in R&D for a while,
yes,
and
yeah,
once builds some time and history, like the Wranglers, I'm sure it'll be. I mean, because
Y-
Bronco's really popular, so
yeah,
I'm sure
yeah.
people are on it right now as we speak.
Well, you said it best. It's like the adult Lego. I mean,
Yeah,
that's exactly what it
Step
was.
on it.
it is.
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
yep,
So I want to talk a little bit. Like I tell you what, you're very broad in the different foods that you bring, and I love it.
yeah.
So like I've seen MREs, I've seen steaks. I mean, I've seen everything under the sun. So is that like almost a passion for you to just try different things out in the backwoods with a good IPA?
Okay, so thank you for that question. That's a good question. And I'll say, I'm going to start this off by saying I am a horrible cook. I am not a good cook. And whatever I make, if I offer to someone, or if someone wants to get a little piece, I first put out a disclaimer like, hey man, if this sucks, like, I apologize, but ultimately it comes down to what's most convenient, right? Like maybe cooking a steak isn't convenient, but I bought a steak, a couple of days ago and it's in the fridge, so I can just take that with me.
Wow,
Or
that's great.
yeah, or like an MRE, I'll bring if I'm taking the Jeep because I can't bring all the, I can't bring the stoves and the pans and the pockets. There's no space for it, so I'll just bring an MRE and not go to the bathroom for a few days after that. But it's okay; it's worth the trade-off. But things like that. So it's mainly first thing is convenience, of course, mixed with what I like eating, what I enjoy. Like even MREs, I do enjoy eating it, especially when you're out in the woods. If I was at home in the kitchen, I would probably not reach the MRE. Would be the last thing that I want to reach at home in the kitchen. But if I'm out in the woods and I'm tired or it's cold or I'm hungry and I'm surrounded by nature, MREs are really good. So
well, and it's funny because like with backpacking, I love to bring like nor rice sides and ramen noodles and just the bottom of the barrel foods, right? But I found myself like going to the overlanding thing. It's like I want my cast iron skillet, I want my steaks, I want my asparagus, I want the whole thing, the chili dogs and all that stuff. So it's I actually really enjoy like cooking in the backcountry, just as far as for me. But I'm like, I need to try an MRE.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty. Well, that's the beauty of overlanding, right? Like compared to backpacking, you can have really good meals when you go overlanding. Yeah, definitely. Like nowadays, everyone just brings a fridge, right? And like stuffs it with all this stuff. So if they want to make variations on a meal, they can, and they don't have to worry about weight and all that stuff, But even with that said, I still carry a couple of packs of MREs with me, even on overland trips, just in case.
Oh, that's crazy. I want to bring up this video. There was something crazy that you ate at one of your Patreon meetups. So, and this you deserve the Medal of Bravery. Like you're you're completely dedicated to your Patreons to be able to put yourself through this.
It was the group. It was the four of us that partook in it. We are all like without them, I wouldn't have had the goal to do that together or do that by myself. I mean,
yeah. Why don't you roll that first segment and then we'll pause it here after that.
Okay.
Enjoy the fun.
Enjoy the fun. Enjoy our torture. That's Herman. He supplied it, and he's a great guy.
You can put some salt on it too while eating it.
Okay.
And you scoop your vinegar and salt, and then you eat it.
Why you describe this right now with the fire? You look very evil right now.
You crack it open like that.
So why don't you explain to everybody what that is that you're cracking open there?
So, I mean, that's basically a duck egg, right? So what they do is these duck, they lay these eggs and they wait a certain amount of time, an incubation time, so where the yolk develops into like a fetus. So when it develops into a certain point, then they put it in the fridge or whatever, so that it won't grow anymore, and then they boil it. And when you boil it, you're basically cooking this fetus so that, it's edible. I'm gonna say that in quotes. It's edible, a good source of protein, and at that point that the embryo develops, and when you cook it, it's at that sweet spot in time where there's a beak. You can see the beak, for example, but it's not crunchy. You see the feathers, but it doesn't really linger around too much because it's still very soft and it kind of goes down pretty easy. And so that's what that is. And yeah, it's definitely an experience, and it's a Filipino delicacy. And I don't know if there's any other Eastern or Pacific island areas that have this delicacy, but it is definitely an interesting experience, and I'd say it was an enjoyable time. I think it's also because I did that with these guys together. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Why don't you play that second segment of it, and let's see how this went down.
Second segment.
Yeah, 24:13 to 25:12.
Okay, gotcha. Now we're almost there.
That works.
Yeah, bro, that's a hit. Yep.
So after putting a vinegar, you can go ahead and
just bite into it.
Bite into it.
Cheers.
Okay, cheers.
Come back. Cheers.
I just
did it.
You just did it.
Yeah.
Halfway.
Yeah.
Look at his face.
It's not that
You're
bad.
such a good sport.
There's a lot of
Oh
things.
my
There's
goodness.
a lot. There's a lot of.
Yeah, if you
Feathery
want to
type
put more
things.
vinegar, or you want to scoop the vinegar,
I think I really want some
Like that?
vinegar. Yep.
yeah, I mean,
Yep. Yep.
can
Put
do
some more in there. Yep. Yep. Matter of fact, just just pour it on there.
yeah.
Yep.
There you go.
We're good. Yep.
The
Let's go.
vinegar is like I can see why you use the
Okay,
vinegar.
let's
Yeah.
do some more of that.
Okay, so the flavor is like
No, yeah.
it doesn't remind me of a duck when I taste the flavor.
It's
For me.
crab. It's crab.
It tastes more like crab than chicken
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
for me.
Mm-hmm.
John, right? How about you?
Absolutely crab.
Crab. Huh?
I don't eat seafood.
I think I just felt the beak a little
The
bit.
beak,
It's
yeah.
soft.
Were you like expecting like the way you?
So-
Oh, that is so good.
when you guys commented about that face that I made earlier, the reason I have two favorite things to eat in life: steak, ribeye specifically, and
Yeah.
crab. Crab. I love crab meat. So I basically tasted something that I really like eating. You know, it was really good flavor. So why did I make that face? Because I didn't expect it to taste like that. You know what I mean? Like you're eating something that's in the bird family and it tastes like something that's like seafood, you know?
Right.
And
That's remarkable.
but after that first initial surprise, like after that, I was like, "Ooh, this is kind of good." It's just a kind of like a mind trip, just because of the fact that it's something out of an egg and it tastes like something else.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I tell you what, we're kind of coming up on an hour, and I know
Okay.
you got a pretty strict timeline. I don't want to like bring you over, but I got
Yep.
one more thing I want to do if you have time for it.
Yeah, sure.
So I've got a series of 5 videos we're going to call this "Make It or Not," and we're going to
Okay.
bring up this video, and from the looks of the thumbnail, you have to be able to say if they're going to make it or not make it. And in the chat, feel free to jump in. Well, first off, let me say Fly Fisher at the Gateway of the Rubicon Trail. Very cool that you're on here. Awesome. Thank you for joining.
Fly Fisher, yeah, Michael, he's a good guy too. He's another
Awesome.
good friend of mine.
That's actually on my bucket list. I gotta get a little better at being able to drive over rocks, but we're gonna get there.
Okay.
But so this first one, what do you say? Will he make it or will he not?
Man, I would like to know what's in underneath that soft top, but I'd say he does.
All right. Now let me I'm gonna throw something in here. If you get 4 out of 5 right, then I make these things called polar jammers. And in one of your videos, I remember you saying when it was like 7 degrees, it was not fun to have cold hands.
Okay,
So this little buddy's going to fix that, and I'll explain more about that later to you.
well,
So-
can you explain it? Okay, so it's gonna motivate me to exactly know what that is in that,
right,
because I'm really curious right now.
All right, so what I did is, okay, what inspired me to make this, right? I did a -3 backpacking trip, and the hardest thing was tearing down my tent with cold hands, and I
Yeah.
couldn't do it with gloves because I needed my fingers for the dexterity.
Okay.
I just thought, man, if I could put my hands in something temporarily just to warm them up, to be able to pull them out and use them and then put them back in, it'd be fantastic. Well, then I also found out this thing makes a great pillow if you're in a hammock. It's great for your devices, like to keep them in there. You could put hand warmers in there, like the little hot hands hand warmers. I've even put a pouch of meals, like Peak Refuel meals or Backpacker Pantry. I've thrown in there and used it as a koozie also. So it's got a million uses to it. But one of the things you will love is laying in your rooftop tent with your hands in this thing, and they will be totally warm.
Oh man. Okay. All right. Now I'm just gonna try to get 5 on 5 right now, because that's a useful thing. It's not just like a little, whatever thing.
No,
Because
it
there are
tries to be
times where,
fun.
it sucks having
Absolutely.
cold hands.
Absolutely. All right.
Okay.
So will he make it or will he not? And you're thinking,
I said yes.
okay. All right. So let's roll.
Wait. What does everyone else in chat think?
A lot of make it. You got a couple of no's.
Couple
No.
no's. Okay.
Because usually those guys are right. Those guys and girls in chat, they're usually like 90% of the times correct.
We're heavy backpacking experienced, so you may
Okay.
have a better chance.
Yeah, it's skewed. Yeah.
Okay.
Thing there. He's coming down. I thought he was going up.
He's going to go up.
Okay.
He's I think he's realigning. He's got to use the skinny pedal, I feel.
Okay.
If you're revving it up, that's not a good sign.
And if it's this Jeep guy on your license plate, that's asking for trouble.
Right.
In it. Send it.
Oh, he's going.
Oh,
Go,
you
go,
are
go.
right. 1 for 1.
Woo. All right.
Oh, I was a little nervous on that one. I'm not going to lie.
Man.
All right. You want to bring up the second one, Chris, and we'll
Yeah,
take a look? So here, you see it a little better now. So that's basically what it is. So, and it actually
Very
has, you can cinch the ends, put water bottles in it. So, all
Fair
right.
enough.
You ready?
Okay,
Yep.
make it or not.
Yes.
Oops. Hold on. Sorry.
So
Oh, you're
make it
right.
across that trail.
Yep.
I'd say no.
You would be correct.
Jeez. Hey, you guys, you didn't give me much time to think about this.
I know. Sorry about that.
I think it's a good thing because that kind of looked a little deceptive. I'm looking at that. I'm like, oh, that's easy.
Yeah, see, the videos don't do those things justice, you know.
Yeah,
the
that's right.
off-camera stuff.
That's
What's
right.
the next one here?
So you're 2 for 2.
Okay, right on.
Caveman and Zone 58. You were correct. They said no also. Doc says ouch.
Okay.
All right.
All right, wait. So is he going to make it across the river? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Is he going to make it down and across? And it looks like, is that a Forerunner? That might be a Forerunner.
It's a Forerunner, and I'm just going to try to analyze this real quick, and I could be totally wrong. But the caption says strong off-road car with the best driver on the muddy road. And that could be one of two things. This is a pretty accurate description of the driver, or they're just being sarcastic and he does something really dumb.
You never know.
I'm going to have to go with, I'm going to say he's going to make it. I feel like they wouldn't try to be sarcastic on something like this.
Okay. So we got KillQuest that says make it. Loafer X says no. Tanya says yes. All right. Let's see. Caveman made it.
Here we go.
Are they in Mexico?
That's a real green. Got a good line.
Ooh.
3 for 3.
That.
Man, that noise brings me back.
Did you have an experience like that?
Oh, plenty of times. It happens, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we got video number 4. So we got
Okay.
Loafer was wrong. We got KillQuest was right. Zone 58, you said it was a Forerunner. So I don't know if that meant it was going to or not going to. He's a Nissan guy.
Oh, this one. Well, it sounds like he makes it based on the caption, and I'm gonna go with that. We'll
There
see.
we go.
Yeah,
All right. That looks like that was a free one. So-
Here we go.
I appreciate it.
Or was it?
he stuck the landing.
That's the first time I've seen Jeep parkour right there. That's amazing. Jeez.
Oh, that's fantastic.
All
That's
right,
fantastic.
so I'm technically 4 out of 5, so I do win it,
You
right?
did
so,
it. You did it.
So what
Yeah.
I want to do is on the 5th one, I want to
Okay.
get what the chat says, and I'll go with what majority of chat says for the 5th one.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. This is Bronco versus Jeep Wrangler. Which
makes
one
it?
makes it up the sand dune?
Oh, which one makes it?
Oh, which one makes it up?
And it looks like that is a Bronco Raptor, just
I
to be
don't-
fair.
Where's the Wrangler?
It's off to
Oh,
the
is
side,
it
I think.
off to the side?
Yeah,
Okay.
'cause that ain't no Wrangler.
No.
I think that's a
Sidekick. Looks like a sidekick.
It is a
Right.
Wrangler Rubicon.
I wouldn't be surprised if that thing does make it up though. That little white thing that probably doesn't weigh too much.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen crazy things like that. So what's chat saying? What do they think is going to make it up?
Epic fail, Ford, Bronco. Nope. Doc is probably saying neither
Neither
one.
one.
So,
Neither.
neither. Yeah.
Neither. Okay, I guess if that's majority, I'll go with neither.
Alrighty.
All right,
Double no, low for
Here we
X.
go.
All right.
Broncos up.
Oh, Broncos up. Okay.
Yeah. Driver error.
Me.
And Broncos back down.
Oh, the very good.
Broncos just rubbing it in his face right now.
That's right.
Get it. Send it. Oh, far away.
And it's a Bronco for the win.
And the
It's a
horse,
Bronco
and the
for
horse
the win.
mix it up.
Interesting.
Yep. So, all right. Very cool.
That's disappointing. I'm sure you're happy about that, but man, that just brings a tear to my eye.
Well, I'll tell you, I feel like Broncos are great for the sand dunes. It's the IFS is great for that type of stuff, and I actually have experienced that up in Silver Lake Dunes in Michigan. It's unbelievable, but when it comes down to the durability of a Wrangler and the rocks, it's you guys win. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's proven.
but-
It's a proven platform for the most part. It does still have
Yeah.
its issues. I'll say that.
It does. It does. The thing I like about what I drive is like I just went to Sedona during the snowstorm a few months ago,
Yeah.
and it was literally like driving a car the entire time. Like there was no fatigue whatsoever. So I felt like
Yeah.
I could have kept going. So that makes it nice. But if it comes down to who's going to get over the rocks in Utah, my money's probably going to be on the Wrangler. So,
Yeah. It's a good platform.
yeah, absolutely. Well, Ed, thank you so much for coming on.
thank you.
I will be talking with you online about how to get that to you. So
Yep. Thanks for having me on here, guys. It's a pleasure. And again, for your viewers who expected this live stream last time, I apologize. It was totally my fault, everyone. I dropped the ball. We had an agreement and I failed to meet that agreement. I feel really bad about it, but I'm glad we got to do this today and have this conversation. It was really fun.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if you'll hang out in the green room real quick, and
Sure.
then we're gonna wrap this up. We'll send you back there. Enjoy the M&Ms.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. How fun was that?
Good
Just a
time.
total class act. Well, thanks everybody. I know it was kind of a short notice. Appreciate everybody jumping on. I've got some really, really cool guests coming on here in the next month also. We're looking at a guy that drove a Raptor from the West Coast to the East Coast on nothing but dirt roads. We got Chris, the owner of Light AF Backpacks, is going to be on in a week from Wednesday. So really excited to talk to him. He actually, in note, was someone I talked to a lot about those when I was designing those. But just a total class act there. And then we're looking at Smokey B, an actual beekeeper, backpacker, outdoorsman with a really cool Volkswagen camper van that it'd be fun to talk to him as well too.
Yeah, I'd also want to mention, make sure you guys go over to Ed's channel and check him out. Check out some of his videos. It's just Edward Shin. And if I was a good producer, I'd have that pulled up right about now, but I'm not.
That's all right. We'll add the links to the description. No worries.
Yeah, so go check him out, and apparently more things coming, more awesome stuff that's coming.
Yep, absolutely. So just total class act. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much, and hope you guys enjoy the rest of what's left of your weekend, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Awesome. See you guys. And we are